Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the South Florida real estate scene. Specifically, we're looking at how Mora Realty Hollywood tackles this incredibly complex market. You know, whether you're a first-time home buyer or an investor building out a commercial portfolio, real estate down here isn't just about finding a property. It's about navigating an absolute maze of local variables. Digging into the source materials, it's pretty clear they rely on a highly personalized, integrated, direct access model. No gatekeepers, no layers of assistance. You literally just get direct access to the licensed professional. And we're going to unpack exactly how that operational choice completely changes the real estate experience.
All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the Hollywood micro market, then move into their integrated real estate services, break down the commercial math, and finally, look at the direct communication difference. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The Hollywood Micro Market. This is truly a block-by-block landscape.
You see, Hollywood is practically a giant puzzle made up of micro-neighborhoods. We're talking about Mora Realty covering primary areas from the coastal properties of Hollywood Beach to inland enclaves like Emerald Hills. And a huge point to highlight here, the Parkside neighborhood, where they offer really specialized hands-on support. Now, why does this matter to you? Well, because pricing, HOA rules, insurance requirements, and rental demand, they can all shift dramatically just by crossing into a new subdivision or driving literally a few blocks east or west. What makes a great investment in Hollywood Lakes might totally flop based on the dynamics in Aventura or Parkside.
It really boils down to the fact that small local details ultimately determine a deal's success. Nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to be hit with a surprise hurricane code retrofit or some obscure zoning law right after closing. We're talking about highly specific parking ratios and those absolutely crucial retrofits. For example, tenant mix trends along Federal Highway or Hollywood Boulevard, those can swing a commercial deal's underwriting by a massive margin. If you don't have a local agent who intimately understands these granular details, you're essentially flying blind into a major financial commitment. Moving on to Section 2, Integrated Real Estate Services. Let's look at how they connect the dots across all these different property types. Because, let's be real, real estate needs almost never exist in a vacuum. Based on the documents, Mora Realty operates this really unique model where residential, rental, and full-cycle commercial practices all sit under one single roof. And that gives clients a totally comprehensive 360-degree view of their real estate moves. You aren't bouncing between a commercial broker for your business and then trying to find a separate residential agent for your house. You get seamless support for buying and selling your home, analyzing the local rental market for condos and apartments, right up to commercial acquisitions, dispositions, and leasing, the whole shebang.
So, the crucial takeaway here is how these needs overlap. There's a great quote from the source material that really hits the nail on the head. It says, "Small business owners who are buying their first storefront often want to talk about the residential move it will unlock," right? It's all connected. Think about an investor weighing a mixed-use property. Because Mora Realty handles the rental market side too, that investor instantly benefits from knowing exactly what those upper-floor residential units are realistically going to yield in rent. Having all that integrated knowledge significantly de-risks the entire investment.
Okay, Section 3, the commercial math. Let's break down the fundamental difference in how property decisions are made when we get into commercial territory. Because there's a very stark contrast between these two worlds. Residential deals, they're often driven by lifestyle fit. Does the home feel right? Is it close to good schools? But commercial transactions, that is a much slower, highly deliberate process that is decided entirely by the math. It's not about emotion at all. It's about returns, cap rates, and operating costs.
And since commercial deals basically live and die by those numbers, Mora Realty uses a strict analytical process. First step, establishing a written scope. What exactly is the asset type? What's the precise price band? What is the timeline? That scope then becomes this unforgiving filter applied to every single listing and off-market lead, which is step 2. Finally, in step 3, they underwrite candidates against realistic rent rolls, capital expenditure assumptions, and the actual real-world cost of financing. The agent literally walks through the model with you until every single input is one you actually believe in.
Looking at the data, it's pretty fascinating how the underwriting focus shifts entirely depending on the asset type in Hollywood. Say you're looking at small multifamily buildings along the coastal corridor, while the underwriting there leans heavily on rent roll stability and the costs associated with tenant turnover. But if you pivot to single-tenant retail spaces on major arteries, the focus shifts entirely to evaluating tenant credit and the remaining term on the lease. You just can't apply a one-size-fits-all formula to commercial real estate. That's exactly why this targeted underwriting is so absolutely vital.
Which brings us to Section 4, the direct communication difference. This is where we talk about having zero gatekeepers. Imagine you're in the middle of a complex, high-stakes transaction. You have to ask yourself a very serious question. Do you actually know who is handling your crucial paperwork? When deadlines are super tight, who is actually drafting the letter of intent? Who is reviewing the estoppel agreements? Who's coordinating with your legal counsel on the purchase agreement? In a lot of large agencies, you might just be passed off to a junior assistant or some transaction coordinator the second the deal goes under contract.
Well, Mora Realty takes the exact opposite approach. By completely eliminating those layers of assistants and gatekeepers, they guarantee that clients deal directly with the licensed Florida agent. The source material spells it out perfectly, stating, "Every call and text comes straight to me." There are no physical walk-in offices to navigate, no receptionist to leave messages with. It is just a direct, unfiltered line to the professional you hired, giving you candid, immediate advice exactly when you need it most.
And that model creates absolute direct accountability. Every text, every call is handled by the agent. We're talking fast responses, typically within one business day, and often way sooner during their active hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days a week. And that direct line matters immensely. When leases need fast redlining, or maybe a landlord needs a decision by the end of the day, there is no lag time. Like they note in their materials, commercial deals might move slowly for good reasons, like due diligence, but they absolutely do not have to move slowly because of the broker.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, somewhat provocative thought. Real estate in South Florida is demanding. If your next acquisition hinges on the smallest local detail, say a hurricane code retrofit or some highly nuanced zoning law in the Parkside neighborhood, and you're up against incredibly tight, unforgiving deadlines, can you really afford to have your message lost with an assistant? When your hard-earned investment capital is on the line, who do you want answering the phone? Having a direct line to local expertise isn't just a luxury anymore. It's the fundamental key to a successful deal. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this fascinating real estate model.